everyone, my name's Rose from Ritual, and I'm going to take you through a really simple pranayama sequence for soothing the nervous system, calming the mind and relaxing the body. So we'll explore two techniques today. The first one is Ujjayi Pranayama and the second one is Viloma Pranayama. And for the last part of the practice, we'll combine these two techniques in about a 5 to 6 minute sequence. So a little bit on pranayama. If you're new to pranayama, it's commonly understood as breath control or breath regulation, and it has two words. The first word is pran, which is our life energy, or in a contemporary context we associate this with our breath, and the second word is ayama, and the word ayama means to expand, to regulate and expand. So pranayama is really about the expansion and regulation of our vital energy through the mechanism of our breathing. So I guess the easiest way to understand pranayama and its relevance and why we do it is to understand the link between our breath and our mind. So when we're feeling a little bit anxious, distressed or upset, you'll notice that the breath is quite rapid. It's maybe quite shallow and rapid, and often we're just breathing up in the clavicle area here, up in the shoulders. And when we feel relaxed, the breath slows down and the breath comes a little deeper into the lungs. And our lungs are these incredible organs. They are very dense tissue. They're huge organs. They're the biggest organs aside from our skin itself. And if you were to stretch your lungs out, they would stretch the span of a tennis court. So they're very dense, they're very compact, and they have a lot of capacity. So in daily life, we're mainly using or only using about a third of our lung capacity. But when we're doing pranayama techniques and pranayama practice, we're really looking to use the fullness of our lung capacity and to slow our breathing down. So that's what we'll be doing today. We're using pranayama to slow our breathing down. And another point is that we know the mind influences the breath, but the same is true in reverse. So the breath also has an influence on the mind. So when we consciously slow our breathing down and breathe mindfully, this has a really nice effect on our nervous system. We drop into our parasympathetic nervous system, which means our heart rate slows down. If we're secreting chemicals or hormones like cortisol, if we're in a highly stressed situation, we're able to use our breathing to bring ourselves out of that state of fight or flight, which is obviously a huge benefit in terms of its health benefits. So pranayama, it regulates the nervous system and it also slows down the momentum of the mind. And that's why pranayama is a preparatory practice as you start to move into the inner or deeper dimensions of yoga, as you start to travel into meditation. So yeah, you'll know if you've tried to meditate that meditation is really hard to do, not because of the techniques themselves, but mainly because our minds are so busy and so loud. So a helpful step that you may be missing in your personal practice is pranayama. So I really recommend doing pranayama before you attempt meditation, just to really bring the nervous system down, to slow the mind down, and to prime your whole condition for meditation, which is a very nuanced and subtle practice. So that's a little bit of a background on why we do pranayama and what it really is. Of course, it's a very in-depth subject, so we're just touching on it briefly in this little class. So the techniques that we'll use, the first one we'll use is called Ujjayi breath or victorious breath. Another translation of Ujjayi is psychic sound. So we're creating this really nice, gentle, oceanic sound with our breath, and we'll try that in a moment. You might have done it. It's commonly the most common pranayama in yoga classes. And there are a few techniques associated with the pranayamas that we'll be using. So one of them is our breath retention. So we will be holding our breath after we inhale. So we'll fill our lungs up and we'll hold the breath in. We'll hold the breath full. And then when we hold our breath, we'll also use something called bandha. And bandhas are really about creating containment in the body. So if you think about the body as the vessel for the breath. When we're using our bandhas, we're really just creating a nice stable vessel. So we'll be using Jalandhara Bandha, where we're lowering the chin down into the sternal notch, and Mula Bandha, which is the root lock, and we're just gently lifting up through the pelvic floor. You know, if you've been doing yoga for a long time, you'll probably know these. If you haven't, it doesn't matter. I'll just explain. It'll just be a nice introduction into these techniques. So we've got the breath practices that we're going to do. We're starting with Ujjayi, and then we're using our breath retentions, and we're also using bandhas, or these muscular contractions, to create containment and stability in the body. So first of all, just find a nice comfortable seat. So I'm sitting up on a block kneeling in Virasana, and your spine wants to be really straight and long. So make sure you're comfortable. And if you lift your pelvis up so that it's higher than your knees, you won't have to use your back so much. You'll be able to feel that nice length through the spine without the muscular effort. And then whenever you're ready, allow your eyes to become heavy and eventually close your eyes down. Once your eyes have closed, draw your awareness inward. When we draw our awareness inward, we start to notice, to hear, to listen, to see, to feel what's happening in our inner world. In daily life, our mind is really streaming out into our outside world through the sense organs, primarily through our eyes. But when we practice yoga, what we do is we start to withdraw from our sensory experience and internalize our senses. So notice what you can hear and feel and see within. Often when we find stillness and steadiness and we're looking inward, it's not very comfortable. So you may feel slight agitations, pains, emotional things, anxieties, nervousness, energetic feelings. There's a whole kind of abstract field of sensation within. And that gamut runs from physical to energetic to very subtle and mental experiences. And the most important thing to understand is that it's all fine, it's okay, and it's actually really normal to feel that discomfort when we stop and we go inward. And with our pranayama, what we're going to do is see if we can start to have some kind of cause or create some conditions so that our inner environment, our inner experience is changing for the better. So notice how you're feeling in this moment. And when we come to the end of the practice, notice again if you feel some level of improvement. So now let's start to feel our breathing. So feeling your inhalation coming from your nostrils, traveling down through the back of the throat, feeling the breath come into the lungs. A gentle stretch of the lungs as you inhale. And as you exhale, feel that depression of the chest. Breath travels back up through the throat and out of the nostrils again. Spend a few moments here just feeling the reality of the breath without feeling that you need to change anything. Now we'll practice Ujjayi Pranayama. So creating that very nice ocean-like sound in your breath by contracting or taking a gentle grip through the base of your throat. It'll sound like this. So trying it for yourself, gently narrowing the airway so you create a smaller path, a more narrow path for the breath to travel through. This has two purposes. The first one is to slow our breathing down. So it forces us to breathe more slowly. It's like breathing through a straw. And the second one is to warm our breathing up. So you're warming the air as it moves from the outer atmosphere into the lung tissue. And as you're doing this, you're slowly spreading the breath through the lungs, spreading the breath and feeling the breath spread out almost like the branches of a tree into the lung tissue. Begin to make the breath even, smooth. So if you notice, you can breathe in and you can breathe out with Ujjayi. That's good, but often what we're feeling is that we're only breathing out with Ujjayi. So try to make your inhalation the same tone and texture as your exhalation. So that sound starts to become what you're meditating on. Meditating or focusing on the sound of your breath. And that sound will resemble something like the wind in the trees or the sound of the ocean. Now as you're breathing, start to make the breath even more even in length. So if you're breathing in for 4, breathe out for 4. And feeling the space between the breaths. So right before you breathe out, notice that space. Retain the breath in for a moment before you breathe out again. Notice the space at the end of exhale before you breathe in again. Now let's start to explore retentions, so holding our breath. Gently tone the abdominal wall back and exhale the breath out. We're now breathing in, 2, 3, 4, pause and hold the breath full. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, hold the breath empty. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold it full. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, hold it empty. One more round, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold it full, and this time lower your chin down into the collarbones, into that little space. And pick your pelvic floor muscles up, so pull the perineum upward toward the heart and the lungs. Create containment for the breath. Now lift your chin, navel draws back, breathing out. 2, 3, 4. We'll do 3 more rounds with bandhas now, so breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold it full, cap your chin down and pick your pelvic floor muscles up. So you're creating containment, a really stable pot for the breath. Lift chin, draw the navel back, out. 2, 3, 4. Breathing in. Ujjayi breath. 3, 4. Hold the breath full. Lower the chin down. Pick the pelvic floor up. So from the pelvis, you're pulling upward, creating an upward motion, a kind of vacuum from the center up to the navel. And from the chin, you're creating downward pressure from the throat through the heart to the navel. Lift chin, breathing out. 2, 3, 4. Last round with bandhas, breathing in. 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath full, lower the chin down, lift the pelvic floor up, create kumbhaka or breath retention, containing the prana or energy of the breath in the torso. Lift your chin, tone the abdominal wall, breathing out. 2, 3, 4. Take a slow breath in and an easy breath out. Good. Now we are going to practice Viloma breathing. So we'll use everything we've done so far. We'll use Ujjayi breath, that sound with the throat. We'll use our retentions and we'll use our bandhas. So for the next pranayama, we're going to divide our inhalation into 3 equal parcels in the upper, middle, and lower lungs. Then we'll hold our breath at the top of inhale, and that will be followed by a long and easy exhalation, letting the breath go completely. So I'll guide you through. We'll begin with an exhale. Tone the abdominal wall, empty out the lungs all the way. Good. Ujjayi breath, breathing into the upper lungs. Hold. Breathing into mid lungs. Hold. Breathing into lower lungs. Hold. Lower your chin down. Pick your pelvic floor muscles up. Contain the breath and find that silence. Lift chin, breathing out. Breathing in upper lungs. Hold, mid lungs. Hold, lower lungs. Hold, cap your chin down. Pick the pelvic floor up. Lift chin, navel draws back. Breathing into upper lungs, mid lungs, lower lungs. Hold, kumbhaka, breath retention. Use your bandhas, Jalandhara bandha at the throat, Mula bandha at the root. Exhale. Breathing in upper lungs, mid lungs, lower lungs. Hold, kumbhaka, lower chin, lift pelvic floor. Keep the spine long. Lifting your chin, exhaling, letting the breath go. This is our final round. Go on your own. When you finish, return to relaxed abdominal breathing. Let's just sit quietly for a moment. If you have a meditation method or technique that you use, then you can practice that. Otherwise, practice Anapana breathing or Anapana method, just noticing the breathing coming in and going out at the nostrils and not manipulating the breath, just a natural, easy breath. Let the breath go. It might become very shallow. It may really dwindle down to nothing. The breath might become quite dim, and that's fine. Slowly deepening the breath again. Becoming aware of your 5 senses, drawing your awareness back outward into the space around the body. And then bringing your palms together in front of your heart center. Here, it's always nice just to notice any of the subtle effects of your practice. Notice if there is a subtle change. And this is what we can try to use as motivation to continue practicing. If we notice the mind is slowed down or we feel a little calmer, or even just taking the time to be silent, taking the time to just really open up that line of communication with ourselves. And then always dedicating the practice to the benefit of all beings. And what that really means is that, for peace to exist, outside of us, first we try to cultivate peace within ourselves. This is the whole message behind yoga, is that we cultivate inward peace, and that peace then is naturally extended towards our friends and family, and that it spreads out like that. The more people who cultivate peace within themselves, the more peace shows up in our lives and in the world. And that is what yoga is for. It's for creating harmony within ourselves and within the environment. So yeah, thank you everyone for practicing with me, and always, acknowledging the lineage and the tradition of yoga and our connection to it. My name's Rose from Ritual Studios. You can reach out to me if you have any questions about pranayama or yoga. I'm always, keen to chat. So yeah, thank you so much.